This is section 8.1 notes. Today we're going to talk about different types of polynomials. So we have three different types of polynomials that we're going to talk about. And the types are telling you how many parts there are in each problem. So the very first type is a monomial. That's when there's just one term or one part, just like a plain old number like 5 or 3x. 7x y squared, a to the 14th, b to the 16th, c, d to the 6th. That's still just one part. There's one part, there's no addition or subtraction. The next type is a binomial. This is when there are two terms or two parts that are added or subtracted together. So 2x plus 1. 2x is one part, 1 is the second part. So there are two parts added together in this binomial. Or 17x to the third y minus 15x. This is the first part, it's being subtracted by the second part. Two parts means it's a binomial. X plus y, again, x is one part, y is one part, two terms means it's a binomial. 2 plus 3, 2 is one part, 3 is the other part, two terms means it's a binomial. The last type we're going to talk about in Algebra 1 is a trinomial. So this is three terms or three parts that are added or subtracted together. So we'll see stuff like 5x to the second minus 2x plus 19. There are three parts being separated by a subtraction or an addition sign. So three parts means it's a trinomial. It can even be something like 2xy to the fourth plus 3x plus xy. Again, there are three separate parts that are being added together, which means it's a trinomial. Next, we're going to talk about the degree. So the type is how many parts there are. The degree is the exponents on the variables. So if you take a look at this example over here, if I take a look, the very first one is 5x. What is the exponent on the x? It's invisible, but it's still there. It's a little 1. So the degree is going to be 1. Now, what happens if you have multiple variables? So take a look at letter B. It's 6x to the third, y to the second. Well, x has a 3 as the exponent, the y has a 2 as the exponent. To find the degree, you have to add them together. So 3 plus 2 gives you a degree of 5. So this problem has a degree of 5, 3 from the x, 2 from the y. Now, in the other way, what happens if there are no variables? So if it's just a number like 4, well then, if there's no variables, then there aren't any exponents. So this has a degree of 0. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try and find the degree and the type for each of these polynomials on this side. So go ahead and pause. Now, so if you just have a number, the degree is 0 and the type is a monomial. For B, 5x plus 9, x has an exponent of 1, so the degree is 1, and the type is a binomial because there are two parts. This next one, it's 7x plus 3 plus 4x squared. The degree here is going to be the 2 because it's the highest exponent. So you have to look at the parts separately. This has a degree of 1, this has a degree of 0, this has a degree of 2. You want to know the highest degree in those three parts. So that's going to be a degree of 2. The type, because there are three parts, is a trinomial. So this next one, 2x to the third, the degree is going to be 3 from the third on the x. The type is a monomial because there's one part. The last one here is 8x to the fourth minus 2x to the third plus 3x. So I'm looking for the degree, so the highest number of exponents on each part. So this has a degree of 4, this part has a degree of 3, this part has a degree of 1. The highest degree overall is a 4. And the type, because there are 3 parts, is a trinomial. Okay. Next, for problem 3, we're going to start talking about standard form. So the directions say, write each polynomial in standard form. What is the degree and type of each polynomial? So we've already talked about degree and type, but we need to talk about standard form. Standard form is putting the equation in order with the part with the highest exponent to the part with the lowest exponent. So for example, I have 3x plus 4x squared. The x squared here has a 2, this x has a 1. I want to put them in order from highest exponent to lowest exponent. So I have to rearrange. So I have to go 4x to the second plus 3x. That is standard form, going from highest exponent to lowest exponent. Now I need the degree. Now if I put it in order, the degree is easy because it's going to be the highest exponent here. So it's going to have a degree of 2. And the type is going to be the number of parts. There were 2 types here, so it's a binomial. Letter B has a couple more points. It's 4x minus 1 plus 5x to the third plus 7x. I have to put this in order. This has an exponent of 1. This doesn't have any exponents, so 0. This has an exponent of 3. And this has an exponent of 1. So I'm going to put this in order. The highest exponent here is 5x to the third. Then we have 4x to the first and 7x to the first, and then it's minus 1. Now, because these are both x to the first, I can combine them because they are like terms. So I still have 5x to the third. 4x's plus 7x's give me 11x's, and it's still minus 1. So this is my standard form equation. It's simplified. It goes from highest exponent to lowest. So that's in standard form. So the degree here is the highest exponent, which was 3. The type is the number of parts that there are, which are 3. So it's a trinomial. And then this problem is done. So I have standard form, degree, and type. Problem number 4, we are adding and subtracting monomials. What is the sum or difference? So in order to add or subtract monomials, they must be like terms. So what that means is the variables must be the same with the same exponents. So for problem A, I have 3x to the second plus 5x to the second. Well, they both have x to the second, so I can go ahead and add them together. 3x to the second plus 5x to the second is going to give me 8x to the second. That is my sum. This next one has 4x to the third y minus x to the third y. Now, how many are in front of here? It's just a 1. It's invisible, but it's there. So my letters and my exponents are the same. So x to the third, y, y. They are the same, so they are common terms, so I can subtract them. 4 minus 1 is 3, x to the third, y. Now once I have simplified, I'm going to go back and state the degree and the type. So over here, the degree, the exponent on the x is 2. The type is a monomial because I simplified it down to just one term. Over here, I have a degree of 3 and 1 on the y, so that's a total of 4. The type, again, is a monomial. It's just a one-part problem now that I have combined them. Problem number 5, now we're adding and subtracting polynomials that have multiple parts. So it's asking what the sum or difference is. So for this first one, it already has it lined up for you. So the x to the seconds are in one column, the x's are in another column, and just the plain old numbers are alone. So now I can just add them together by the columns. So negative 7.1 x to the second plus 21 will give me 13.9 x to the second. Negative 180x plus negative 140x gives me negative 320x. And then 5,800 plus 1,900 is 7,700. So this is my addition. I just added all three parts together. Then I go back through and I look for the degree. So what's the highest exponent? It's going to be a 2. The type is how many parts, so 1, 2, 3, so it's a trinomial. Problem B looks a little bit different. Instead of lining up nicely like problem A, it is written out horizontally. Now, I don't like this, so I'm actually going to rewrite all of this underneath, and I'm going to make sure to line it up. So 7x to the third matches up under x to the thirds. Plus 5x to the second goes under the x to the seconds. Minus 12 doesn't have an x on it, so I have to write it after the 5x. I leave a gap here. There's nothing there for x's in this last parenthesis. So when I rewrite it, I'm going to scratch this out. It is a minus sign here, so I have to do a subtraction as my operation, and then I just have to subtract. So if I have 1x to the third minus 7x to the thirds, that's going to give me negative 6x to the third. Negative 3x to the second minus 8x to the second is going to give minus 5x to the second is going to give negative 8x to the second. You have to keep in mind that it's subtracting. So negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. 5x minus 0 is just going to give me 5x. And then there's nothing here, so 0 minus negative 12, minusing a negative will give you a positive 12. Okay, because that's two negatives in a row, which make a positive. So this is your final combined answer. Next we go to a degree. The degree here is the highest exponent, which is 3. The type, well, we've talked about monomials, binomials, and trinomials. Trinomials is the highest type that we've talked about, which has 3 parts. This only has 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So because we don't have a specific name for this type, we just call it a polynomial. Anything above 3 parts is what we're going to call a polynomial. So if it has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts, it's just called a regular polynomial.